What's up, everybody? It's only the beginning of 2026 and there's already a lot of action going on in AI. And as you already know, I'm sure, Tesla for the last 6 to 8 years has been working on their own full self-driving system, their driver assistant, level 2 driver assistant. And it's basically the only car with more than just lane assist. You know, Mercedes or whatever has their level, what is it? I don't even remember. Only on like 3 highways and 30 miles per hour it's going to stay stuck there or whatever. So Tesla's the only car that you could buy on the market with and since version 13. You could say 12 dot whatever, I forget. But since for sure version 13 has definitely showed signs of getting a lot better. But at this last CES, Jensen Huang came out on its stage and gave another one of his talks, releasing a lot of news. It's pretty crazy. Releasing the Rubin and the Vera Rubin stack and rack platform that has basically been built from the ground up, all the chips from network interfaces to obviously the GPU. NVLink, what is it? NVLink Generation 6 right here. It's insane. And this is also, if you happen to see my short, it's the one that wants to basically drink warm water. And the reason for that is water, or liquid in general, carries heat thousands of times better than air. It saves on energy costs. Also, the evaporative towers that they would spray to create the evaporation to carry the heat out, that wastes a lot of water. They can get rid of those things. And for dry coolers, stuff like this, use less water. It'll use a lot less water, guys. A lot less water. So it just shows that they're definitely trying to pay attention, and this is the first system that was built from the ground up for this closed loop system. And if we look down here, it's a fourth of the GPUs needed to train, a tenth of the cost per million tokens. And here are the 6 chips that they came out with. Here's Rubin. This is the actual GPU. This is Vera. This is the CPU. Obviously NVLink and the switches, data processing, Ethernet to carry, I think it's more than the whole internet of data, you know, is what he was throwing out there. But they are not the first people to do this. XAI back in, let's see, I don't want to get it wrong, February 17th. Wait, that's 150. 80,000. I think it was at the beginning of 2025 that they had the first 100K cluster of GPUs talking, you know, coherently or whatever in one single place. And they were using a closed loop water cooled system. The only difference now is Nvidia with the NVL72 has made it from the ground up to pack in more density and work with closed loop liquid system. Along with this, Nvidia released a whole suite of open source tools and updated their already existing suite of open source tools under Omniverse and all of that for autonomous vehicles and driving. Also releasing and open sourcing Alpamayo, their autonomous driving model. This includes some data sets and simulation tools, among a lot of other things. This is great for competition, but a lot of people are misinterpreting this, thinking that they'll just be able to give this to Ford, they'll be able to drop it in, and they'll have autonomous vehicles driving around just like Tesla, or they'll have, you know, level 2 drive assist just like Tesla. And that's just, you know, that's not how it's going to work. First of all, most of the legacy auto here in the US is not working on electric vehicles, and they're even pushing back their programs with Ford, you know, trying to get into the energy business with their mega packs planning to come to like 10 gigawatts in like 2027 or something like that. Can't remember, by then Tesla's gonna be at like what, 80 or something, I don't even know, or like that's like what Tesla was at last year, this year, I don't remember that exactly. But also, a bunch of people misinterpreted this, maybe, and it even says it right here. Nvidia is the first to release an open source, maybe open reasoning, you know, open source reasoning vision language action model designed to tackle long-tail autonomous driving challenges. Other OEMs are still going to have to implement this technology, and that's going to take them quite a long time to integrate it, especially when they're not pushing forward in their EV programs still. And traditional systems, you know, traditional 12-volt architecture is just, it's going to be a bottleneck. You can add extra systems in to make it work, but that's just not optimal. So having a good EV is obviously going to be very optional. And I honestly think that's going to be one of the biggest things to push the EV market in the United States. Since we're like one of the lowest adoption rates for EV, I think this will be a big push because autonomy will be here in the next 10 years for sure. It'll be so much cheaper. People are going to choose it. They're going to want this. And I feel like it'll definitely help it get pushed here a lot more. A lot of people were getting confused saying that they are the first people to have a reasoning autonomous driving system. And Tesla has actually done this first. They are not the first. Now, where I think they may have gotten this confused at, or they, I don't really think they even read this. Maybe I think it was just headlines or something like that, or they just, maybe even Jensen worded it kind of weird. But they are the first to open source, as far as I know, an open source reasoning vision language action model designed to tackle the long-tail autonomous driving task. But, as you can see from Ashok Elaswamy, if we scroll down here to his replies, FSD version 14 with reasoning isn't out yet, right? Some elements of reasoning, such as navigation route changes during construction, parking options, have already been shipped in 14.2. More will ship in Q1. And 14.3 is not long around the corner, and that will be a 10x parameter improvement, or, increase. That doesn't necessarily automatically translate to improvement, but it should mean that the neural net should be able to absorb a lot more nuances in the information and data that is being trained on. Nvidia's edge compute solution for this to run these models is Drive AGX Thor, which has a pretty good performance at 1000 tops in 8, running LPDDR5 at 273 gigabytes a second. There's a good comparison here between what Tesla currently has out, which is AI4, which before getting this, AI5 is really not that far around the corner, with them starting production now in 2026 in the second half, I'm pretty sure, and full production in the beginning of 2027. Oh, here we go. Now that we know Tesla's is delayed and won't be in vehicles until, but they did say that they will be starting production in 2026. I'm pretty sure I'm right about that. Here are the comparisons of both of the chips from Nvidia and Tesla that Tesla currently has out. Also, not to mention, Hardware 5 will be coming out not too long from now. One thing that is interesting is Tesla does go with the faster bandwidth on the memory, maybe because they want to make sure that they can run the frame rates fast enough on all the cameras, but still, it seems like the Nvidia Drive Thor is more of the brute force option, where Tesla's more of, I guess, like the PS5 option, where it's kind of like, very optimized, like GTA uses that excuse, like, I'm just kidding, but like, we gotta optimize for the consoles first before we can come out on the PC, because so much variety. So the PS5, where Tesla's hyper optimized for what they believe is the solution to autonomous driving, which is just you have two eyes and a neural net that you drive with, everybody drives with every day. So let's put 8 or 9 of these and hyper optimize everything, and from the silicon that they make, the car, obviously they make everything, and they're going to push hard for that solution. And Nvidia is more of the PC that's just you hand to everybody and let them figure it out, but you make sure that they have enough compute and memory to hold their models and run apparently the infotainment systems, from what I understand, in these cars. Also, Waymo is teaming up with Zeekr, a Chinese company, to make their next generation of EVs that will also be including the Nvidia Thor tech to run their models. I figured that they would have used, since they're like a subsidiary or whatever, basically, of like Google or whatever, they would be using their TPUs. But no, they're going to be using Nvidia's Thor tech, it seems, for the US model that's going to be sent to Waymo's. Which Waymo, a completely different solution, decked out in sensors, a full sensor suite, which Tesla's approach is just, as I said earlier, vision only and a neural net, that's it. Waymo says, no, you need cameras, you need LiDAR, you need radar, you need to make sure this is fully redundant, and this is a must-have. We want the safest thing possible. Some people will believe in Waymo's solution more, some people will believe in Tesla's. Either way, I think the real competition here isn't from Waymo, of course. This is more from OEMs and more specifically Chinese OEMs, because American companies, they're not gonna most likely be in the autonomous space anytime soon, except for Mercedes, which is coming with this hardware, and Alpamayo, their custom fine-tuned version for their car and everything. And we'll see how it does. We'll see what it does. But the main worry should be the Chinese automakers, and they're also going to be adopting Nvidia's next-gen Thor chip. But obviously, probably not running there, which this is from last year. Also, Xpeng is apparently, they claim to be releasing new models that are close to level 4 autonomy and deliver entry-level level 4 autonomy capabilities. If this is true, that's very big. Also, the obvious reason of why Chinese cars and automakers and OEMs are going to be the real worry and problem here is because of how cheap they can manufacture and produce these vehicles. The only reason that we are safe here is because they're so heavily tariffed. And it's crazy that Waymo's willing to put up with that big tariff. You know, it's 100% tariff. Their $30,000 Zeekr is going to cost them 60 grand plus the sensor uplift, which is the main argument against them. You know, they are expensive and they can't scale it because, you know, Tesla, they make their own cars. Waymo obviously doesn't. They're buying from Zeekr. And Chinese vehicles, I mean, they're allowed in a lot of places around the world, and they're pretty good cars from what I see. Obviously, I haven't tried them, you know, but from the things I see, they're pretty dang decent cars in all ranges of price ranges. If it's true that their autonomy will be that good, it'll definitely be a video-worthy moment. And I bet Tesla will definitely be a little worried then. Also, not to mention, Zoox is also starting their rides and stuff, and their rides in Las Vegas around the loop. This is Jeff Bezos's custom-made robotaxi, like from the ground up. There's no steering wheel, there's no pedals, nothing. It's hop in, 4 seats, look back and forth at each other. It's pretty sweet. So pretty much what we've looked at and everything, Nvidia's newly released all-in-one rack built from ground up with 6 different chips, all to work coherently in a dense 72 GPU packed box. Water cooled, warm water, closed loop system. Also releasing the first autonomous vehicle, also the first ones to release the new open source family of models and simulation data and readiness tools to deploy your own autonomous vehicle software. But at the end of the day, this isn't a moat loss for Tesla, especially now in the US. Their main competition will stay being Waymo for the time being. Unless Mercedes, when they come out with their solution with Nvidia's Alpamayo model and whatever fine-tune they have with the drive Thor chip, we'll see what happens then. As of right now, I think it seems that Tesla's pretty safe, being the only, at least, car that you can buy. That's up to you if you trust it. Let me know what you think about this all down in the comment section. Are you for Waymo solution, full decked out redundant suite of sensors? Or are you I have 2 eyes and a neural net, so what about a car that has 8, 9 of those, along with crazy simulation models to churn out edge case data? However, Waymo is in multiple cities, has millions of miles of autonomous driving under their belt and been proven. Have a good one, hit the subscribe button. Peace out. Have a good day.